Hi, and welcome back to this Wednesday edition of Focal Point on AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Great to have you in the conversation and on board with us today on board the USS Focal Point. We are on board a patrol boat. This is not a pleasure cruise. The USS Focal Point. Our commander is on the bridge. The scriptures are nautical charts. We are guided by them. That's our North Star. The Holy Spirit, our navigator, and I serve as your loyal, humble, and cheerful first mate. Welcome aboard. Just a couple of media notes before we jump right into content. You know, Jesse Jackson Jr. is getting ready to be sentenced for committing fraud. He took campaign funds. He spent it on $43,000 Rolexes and all other kinds of stuff. He's going to prison. He's getting ready to be sentenced. CBS this morning and NBC Today and Good Morning America all covered this story to one degree or another. Not a single one of them mentioned that Jesse Jackson Jr. is a Democrat. In other words, you could watch CBS, you could watch NBC, you could watch ABC, you could find out that Jesse Jackson Jr. is going to prison for fraud. You would never know watching the mainstream media. These are the people that want the American people to trust them to bring them the news. You could watch those newscasts and not have any idea. You don't know whether he is a libertarian. You wouldn't know whether he was a Tea Partier. You would if he was a Tea Partier. If he was a Republican, that'd be all over the deal. But you'll never find out that he was a Democrat because the media, again, trying to cover for one of their own. This is just more evidence that they're simply a propaganda arm for liberals in America. They don't do journalism. They don't tell the truth. Everything is shaded. Everything is filtered. Everything is slanted. Here they're actually concealing the truth from the American people. You got the same thing going on with Anthony Weiner. You see a lot of stories about Anthony Weiner. They won't give you his party affiliation. You ought to start looking for that. And this Filner, this mayor in San Diego now, has been credibly accused by 11 women of sexual harassment. The media avoids his party affiliation. He's a Democrat. Anthony Weiner's a Democrat. Jesse Jackson Jr. is a Democrat. They will do everything in their power to avoid mentioning their party affiliation. Media Research Center's Jeff Dickens documented that in the 15 stories on the former congressman during a week-long period in February 2013, 73% failed to give his political affiliation. I guarantee you, if he was a Republican that was going to prison, 100% of the stories, not just 27%, 100% would have his party affiliation. Apparently somebody has committed a cyber attack against the New York Times, their website. Maybe it's back up and running now, I haven't seen, but as of late this morning, their website was down because of this cyber attack. Now, you might have heard all the dust up in the air about this rodeo clown in Missouri. You probably heard about that. This is absurd. This just goes to the point where it's just completely ludicrous. Now, before I get into some of those details, I want to take you back to another episode. Listen, I want you to read this story. The big white gate flew open. The bull came out bucking. This is a journalist writing about a rodeo. The rider flopped from side to side, and the bullfighters held back, letting the bull make its moves until the rider dropped off. Licciardello crouched in a heavily padded barrel. He's the clown. A human target should the bull decide to charge. Hawkins waited near the barrel holding his big inner tube. A dummy with a mask of the current president stood beside the clown, propped up by a broomstick. T.J. Hawkins rolled out the big inner tube, and the bull lowered his head, shot forward, and launched into the tube, sending it bounding down the center of the arena. The crowd cheered. Then the bull saw the dummy with the mask of the president. He tore into it, sending the rubber mask flying halfway across the sand as he turned toward the fence, sending cowboys scrambling up the fence rails, hooking one with his horn and tossing him off the fence. You know why you never heard anything about this? This is 1994, and the president was George H.W. Bush. So you have a dummy with a George H.W. Bush mask on it The bull just tears into that thing, rips it to shreds. The crowd goes crazy. They love it. They eat it up. And you don't have anybody in the media saying we've got to send these rodeo clowns off to sensitivity training. But that is what's happening now. This time, I mean, this is like The Onion. You know, The Onion is a satirical parody site. And, I mean, you'd think you'd read something like this on The Onion. Here is a headline from the Washington Times: rodeo clowns asked to take sensitivity training. Now, ask is the wrong word. They were told. They have been ordered to take sensitivity training. They have been told by the Missouri Rodeo Association that if you're a rodeo clown, you will never work in this town again unless you take sensitivity training. So once again, I mean, the media, they are lackeys. They are lapdogs. They are poodles. They are sycophants for liberal politicians. So once again, you just see this just amazing double standard. And ladies and gentlemen, that's why you listen to this program. That's why you listen to AFR Talk. That's why you've tuned out CNN. You've tuned out MSNBC. You've tuned out the major networks. About the only outlet now you can marginally trust is Fox News. Now, I want to grab the sound bites. Rob, let's go down to clips 6, 7, 8, and 9. We'll kind of start through these. Steve Lonegan won the Republican primary in New Jersey yesterday, just overwhelming, almost 80% of the vote. Now, Steve Lonegan has been on this program before. We brought him on this program when he declared that he was going to throw his hat in the ring for the Republican primary. Now, this guy is running against Cory Booker. Now, people know who Cory Booker is. He's got name ID. Chris Christie, by the way. Now, this Steve Lonegan, you're going to hear the sound bites from this guy. This guy is Reagan-esque. This guy is a fighter. He is an alley fighter. He's a cage fighter. He's a street fighter. He is going to take it right to Cory Booker. And I'm going to play some sound bites from his victory speech last night just to give you a taste of what this guy is about. And this tells you everything you need to know about Chris Christie. Here is the guy that won the Republican Party primary for one of the 2 Senate seats in New Jersey that's been held by Democrats for 47 years. Chris Christie says, well, I'm going to endorse the guy, but there's no way I'm going to campaign for him. I'm not going to show up anywhere for him. I'm not even going to say nice things about him on the campaign. He's on his own. I'm not going to raise any money for the guy. He's out on his own. It's exactly what the Republicans did with Todd Akin and Richard Murdoch. They had 2 Senate seats, Kansas and Indiana. They could have won, but they abandoned those guys. They bailed on those guys. They forsook them. They left them to die on the field of battle. And so if you ever had any questions about Chris Christie, I mean, Mark Levin saying yesterday, I will do everything in my power to keep that guy from becoming elected president. Anything you need to know about Chris Christie's right here. Steve Lonegan, he is committed to the Republican Party platform. He's a conservative on sanctity of life, conservative on marriage. It's in his DNA. It's who he is. Chris Christie said, I want nothing to do with that guy. He is on his own. So anyway, here is clip number 1 from Steve Lonegan. This is the guy that's taken on Cory Booker. All the media today has been about Cory Booker. Everybody's gaga over Cory Booker. He's got scandal problems. We'll talk about that at another time. But this is the guy that's going into the alley to take on Cory Booker. Clip 1.
So here's what I believe, and here's what you and I believe. America is the greatest nation the world has ever seen. It is the nation that has championed individual liberty like no other nation in the history of the world. It is the nation that has delivered more prosperity, more freedom to more people than anybody on this planet have ever seen, and we continue to do that if we have that opportunity.
Right on, right on, right on. There's a guy that believes in American exceptionalism. Does Cory Booker believe in it? I don't think so. Here is clip number 2.
And you hear from both sides, we need the government to create jobs. We need the government to grow the economy. We don't need the government to create jobs. Give us our freedom and we'll create all the jobs you can ask for. That's America. That is America.
Right on, right on, right on. Get the government out of the way. We'll create all the jobs you could possibly want. Now, here is where he directly goes after Cory Booker. Clip 3. Let's listen.
And my opponent Mr. Booker, sort of like the British troops that were held up in Trenton on Christmas Day 1766. They had superior funding, superior everything. They had the whole British crown behind them. But they lost to a ragtag group of rebels, the American colonists. Cory Booker, my opponent, has the support and the money of the Silicon Valley moguls who collect our data. They've decided who their candidate's going to be. They're going to have a party right about now. They'll have their big crystal goblets, their martini glasses up with their fingers in the air, toasting their anointed candidate. But they've never been to New Jersey before. They don't know what a real street fight is. They're going to find out real fast.
They're going to find out real fast. They don't know what a street fight is. They are about to find out. Steve Lonegan, staunch conservative, dyed in the wool. That means it's down in his DNA. It's part of the wallpaper of his soul, going to engage in a street fight with Cory Booker. Here is the last soundbite, clip 4.
So here's our plan for the future of the country. In order to advance liberty and freedom, we need to embrace small business, not big government. We need a government that will protect us from our enemies, not spy on our friends, our neighbors, and our families. We need to embrace free enterprise, not entitlement states, big debt, and more government reliance. And we must work hard to uphold that Bill of Rights, that great Constitution, for which so many hundreds of thousands of men and women have died in the field of battle for our freedom. We must hold that Bill of Rights, not watch it be dismantled.
So that's Steve Lonegan. He is a cage fighter, ladies and gentlemen. I had him on this program. I asked him some very direct questions about the sanctity of life, about the homosexual agenda. He said, I will lead the fight against the Employment Non-Discrimination Act. I will not only vote against that thing if it comes to the Senate floor, I will lead the charge against that piece of legislation. He is a cage fighter. He's an alley fighter. He's a street fighter. You got to listen to that. You got to love it. That's the kind of leadership that conservatives are looking for. Steve Lonegan, a cage fighter, running for the United States Senate in the state of New Jersey, taking on Cory Booker. We'll follow that race very closely. Back in 2.